Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be speaking about the Custodian Guard. I want to just discuss all my thoughts, all my theories, everything that I want to happen with the Custodians in 8th edition. Their Codex is on the horizon. I can almost feel it in my glorious hands. It shouldn't be too long now, guys. So let's jump in and let's get started. So right now at this time, the Custodian Guard don't really have a lot of stuff in 8th edition. They really don't. If we actually look at the Index 2, the Imperial Index 2, they have 3 units. One is the Custodian Guard, which is the main troop choice. One is a Venerable Dreadnought, and one is a Venerable Land Raider. That's it. That's all you get with the Custodians at the moment. They're quite a very bare force, and this is probably why we don't see a lot of people take them on the tabletop. It's just because they don't have a lot of units to really dish out against an enemy. At the back end of 7th edition, when these units were first released, even though they didn't really have a lot of units, they were still a formidable force because they had deep strike. But once 8th edition came out, the deep strike mechanic was taken away. So the only way to move your Custodian Guard around the battlefield with a lot of mobility, you know, charging to the enemy, getting in their lines, taking objectives, moving around the board fast, is to take a Land Raider. And that became quite expensive for people who wanted to field a lot of Custodians and make it a mobile army. Now, one of the things I'm looking forward to with their new Codex is that Deep Strike is going to return. Now, the only kind of information I got from Deep Striking and the Custodian in 8th edition is stratagems. They did mention that there is a Deep Strike stratagem. I'm not sure if different units in the Custodian force will have a Deep Strike rule of their own. For example, maybe the Terminators will have their own Deep Strike rule. Well, hopefully that is how I would like it, that the Terminators have their own Deep Strike rule. These are big, powerful units. And when you compare them to stuff like Grey Knights, who all can Deep Strike, it doesn't really make sense that the Custodian Guard cannot Deep Strike into battle. They Deep Striked in the lore with the Emperor of Mankind protecting him, so they really should have the Deep Strike rule, but I can understand if they've taken it away from a couple of units for balance reasons. It all depends on what the writers are aiming for with the Custodians and their Codex. What are they aiming that force to be? Are they going to be a small elite kind of force where you need like 5 to 10 models and you can really take on, like, you know, maybe someone's full force of orcs? Now, I did speak to the writers, and we did get on the topic of this about, you know, how the Custodians are got to handle, and he did mention a playtest he did with one of the other writers where the other writers took 30 orcs, and he took, if I'm not mistaken, 3 of the new Terminators that are coming out, and he said that he managed to wipe out the full squad of 30 orcs, and only 1.5 of his Terminators went down. Now that for me puts in perspective the kind of aim they're going for. They're a very anti-Zerg army. Of course, this was all playtesting, so stuff could have changed, so please keep that in mind. So from that, like I just said, I think they're going for a very anti-Zerg kind of force. So they're a small elite force. They're basically what Grey Knights were in back, I think it was like 5th edition, where, you know, a small force of Grey Knights could really hold their own against a much far superior number force when it came to fighting on the tabletop. Now, if there's one thing which I'd really like for the Custodian Guards to have in 8th edition is more mobility. Now, we spoke about Deep Strike, and if some units don't have the ability to Deep Strike, then I'm certainly hopeful that GW bring in more options to move your force around. The writer did say to me that you will have a lot of choices for the mobility of Custodians in 8th edition. He didn't go into details on how, but what I would like is more transport vehicles introduced. Now, we have the Land Raider, which can fit 5 guys in, and of course with some of the new rules which are coming out with the Custodians, you don't have to take 5 Custodian Guards anymore. The old rules were you had to take a minimum of 5, but you don't have to do that anymore. You have to take a minimum of 3 and a max of 5 Custodian Guards. So that is very, very good points-wise and putting things into transports, but we need the transports there. Now, one thing is to bring some of the Forge World vehicles over, which was spoken about at the event itself. They said that some of the 30k stuff which you see on their website, which is for the Custodes, will be making its way over to the 40k arsenal of the Custodes. Now, we don't know what stuff that will be. I'm thinking it's definitely going to be some of the Dreadnoughts. I can see at least 2 or 3 of the variants of Dreadnoughts making its way over. And me personally, on the subject of movability and, you know, carrying Custodes, I would absolutely love the Coronus Grav Carrier to be brought over. You've seen it on the screen now. But if I could have something, and I tried to convince the chaps at the event of this, you know, to try and drill it into the head, is please, please, please give us a Custode flyer. And there's already a Custode flyer from Forge World, which is the Orion assault dropship, and I think that can hold up to 25 Custodes, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be a very, very big transport unit if it comes over. Now, of course, the points cost of that and the balance with the rules would surely have to change. I can see it being a lot more expensive. I can see it being something where just like the Obscurus tank, where it's, you know, around about 600-700 points worth of vehicle, but if you're playing these bigger games, which I intend to do, then it's going to be one of these vehicles which I would really, really want to put in my Custode force. And that goes with some of the tanks we see on the Forge World website as well, some of the Grav tanks. Now, I've made this this comment before, but I don't really see Custodes having track-based vehicles. I know we have the Land Raider, but I don't really want to take that Land Raider because it's a track-based vehicle. Custodes are known for their Grav tech, and Grav tech is making a reappearance in 8th edition now with some of the Primaris stuff, the Repulsor tank and the Obscurus big heavy super tank and stuff like that. That is all Grav technology, so it doesn't really make sense that the Custodes now have a tracked Land Raider. So I am hoping that some of the big tanks, some of the hover tanks do make their way over to the 40k arsenal of the Custodes. One thing I do want to touch on is that there's a lot of debate about 30k Custodes and their power levels and how kind of OP they are. Now, I haven't really played with 30k Custodes, so I can't really comment on this, but some of the feedback that I've seen is that 30k Custodes are extremely powerful. Some people don't even allow them in tournaments anymore, and if they are allowed in tournaments, some people say that they put a 20 to 30% point cost plus on them because they're just so devastated playing against other forces. So I think they're going to have to sit down and look at how the balance works and change some of the stats on some of the vehicles, because the last things you want is just super units which just destroy everything and make the game unfun. So I think that is something they're going to be sitting down with, looking at and changing to bring over to the 40k with the Custodes. Now, just to end and just to finish off, one of the big things I'm looking forward to is that we actually have a HQ choice now, which is Captain General Vallauris. Now, of course, we have no rules, we have no stats on him, but I'm sure he's going to be giving us some good stuff. I'm wondering if we're going to have anything similar to the captains and lieutenants in the Primaris/Space Marine forces, where you can re-roll one missed shots, one wound markers and stuff like that. I wonder if the actual Custodian Guard are going to get anything on that level, because you don't really have units like librarians or chaplains, which you can have all these kind of funky stuff which adds to your armor. So I'm wondering how they got to balance that out and give them something special when it comes to fighting other forces. I'm hoping stratagems in a way expand their actual force, which is known in lore when it comes to blade work and shooting and stuff like that. I'm hoping we have some really, really good close combat stratagems, because if there's one thing that I've missed with my Primaris force is that having melee orientated units. Now, of course, Custodians have the spears and the shields, and of course with the new battle axes which are coming out as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the melee aspects of the 40k Custodians being improved. Alright chaps, that's me done for another video. As always, I would love to get your thoughts, feedback on this. Are you thinking of doing a Custodian army? Are you scared of a Custodian army? Are they not interested in you at all? Are you one of these Xenos players which are absolutely raging at the thought of Custodians coming before your force? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to discuss, love to hear it all. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you've enjoyed yourself, and I shall see you all very, very soon. See you chaps, and bye bye.